No doubt whenever you visited Disney, Universal, or SeaWorld, you've seen other park guests doing stupid things or saying stupid things. Theme park employees have no shortage of stories or anecdotes they share at the water cooler and online. But why does this happen? Well, a lot of people say they're stupid or they lack common sense. But me, I'm not satisfied with soundbite answers. Allow me my top 5 reasons why I believe we say theme park guests are so stupid. Number 5. There's just too much stuff to keep track of. The Magic Kingdom at Disney has over 40 rides. Universal Studios and Hollywood Studios share a lot of similarities. Disney may own Marvel, but it's Islands of Adventure that has Marvel-themed attractions. Disney, being 47 square miles, is so inconceivably big that the Magic Kingdom is often regarded as Disney and the rest of the property as a sort of not Disney stuff. Confusion such as this breeds frustration rapidly. Never mind the parks are always changing, growing and shrinking, adding new rides and removing old rides. Unless you keep constant tabs on these things, it's hard to figure out what's going on. Even parades and fireworks evolve with new shows and titles. Once, Disney had a resort called Port Orleans and one called Dixie Landings. In 2001, Disney merged the two and called them Port Orleans French Quarter and Port Orleans Riverside. With over 40 hotels on property, some have different modes of transportation. Some have boats, some have monorails, most have buses. It's tough unless you put a lot of time and effort into looking into it all. Theme park employees who live and breathe this culture answer these questions frequently, and the repetition wears on them. It's a biggie, but it's only number 5. Number 4. The park companies encourage you to act that way. Maybe not directly, but even Walt Disney understood that caring for the public and catering to them creates great business. What sounds more endearing than a company who invites you into their arms and promises to take care of you? In the old days, going to the parks was a treat. It was something to appreciate once in a while. So, like other treats in the old days, you were encouraged by your parents to be on your best behavior as you went to the amusement parks. You were probably bowled over by just how gosh darn nice and sweet all the theme park employees were. Going to Disneyland back in the 50s and 60s was expensive, well, even for back then anyway. So not a lot of people went, and if they did so sparingly. But as time went on, we Americans started indulging ourselves. We either visit them more often, or we listen to our friends' memories and hope our experience will be half as good as theirs. In a nutshell, we simply expect more. Back then, people expected only as much because Disney was new and technology was only so advanced. But in this day and age, the parks have created their own monster. They are far more capable of so many more things, and guests' expectations have risen. Today, the parks still promise you will always be happy, always be enchanted, and always be entertained when they shouldn't. But it's far too late to back out now. Plus, it's bad publicity. The parks commercials promise the moon, stars, and a few planets, so our expectations skyrocket. Do bad things like rain or injuries happen? Well, of course, but the commercials will never mention that. Part of it is our expectations, but the other part is how our expectations get there in the first place. Number 3. It's hot and crowded. Everyone hates being stuck in long lines in 95-degree heat and humidity. And while the parks have fans, spritzers, shade, AC, water fountains, and so on, it's not enough. So why are so many parks in southern climates? The short answer is year-round good weather. Parks are difficult to operate in the snow and tough to operate only seasonally. And as far as crowds go, parks like Universal and Disney are very popular, especially when school's out. But crowded parks mean good business. The frustration builds as you fight for space in a post-parade crowd in mid-July. You need to hurry to find shade and elbow room, precious commodities. This results in guests walking through planters or standing in restaurant doorways, blocking the doorway. This is why we hear people suggest an all-weather dome over Disney, especially when Walt himself planned his future city to be self-contained. The need for space, water, and shade in a frustrating environment creates impulsive choices, not all of them good ones. Never mind these factor into making one nasty temper and subsequent outburst. Number 2. We're on vacation. In this day and age, we work more often by personal choice, like Dad bringing his work laptop with him to the beach. But by and large, we're on friggin' vacation. No school, no work, just cut loose, let down your hair, and do whatever you want. No need to exercise inhibitions, just do whatever, man. What's some sign with safety protocol crap at the roller coaster? Forget that noise, man. And an hour wait later, what do you mean I can't take my bag on with me? Nobody told me. I don't care if it's on some sign. Nobody told me I had to. Like I said before, Disney and the other parks go so far out of their way to cater to you, they encourage you not to think. Add to that a slew of parkgoers who don't want to exercise more thought than they have to, and you have what many perceive as a bunch of brain-dead people. But even theme park employees aren't immune. They're a group of people who work so hard, so long, that more often than not, when they're released in another park on a day off, they become just as bad, if not worse, than the average guest. But even though the parks expect you to just go on cruise control for the rest of your stay, they're still obligated to put legalities like height requirements or hands and arms inside at all times. As a result, despite all signs posted, guests get far too overwhelmed by the candy-coated roller coaster to realize that they are in a public space and the park is a place of invite. If you want to do ill-advised things, that's fine, but don't take advantage of the park's hospitality or the tolerance of the people around you. Even in the parks, there are repercussions to your actions, which leads me to number 1. We regress to childhood. When you were a kid, the world was your oyster. Your parents took care of your food, your health, your transportation, and your shelter. They took care of your needs and made sure you were happy. Even if this doesn't describe your childhood, it does for many people, and the parks definitely do this. It's a world where you are absolved of personal responsibility, and yes, the parks are to blame, but we are barely conscious of it as it happens to our own psyche. As adults, we wish to return to that age where bad things like debt, car troubles, issues with the boss, etc. no longer exist. For kids, going to the parks is a chance to let loose from the confines of parental disciplinary measures and the classroom. The parks like Disney, Universal, and SeaWorld are essentially giant colorful musical toys that captivate and overstimulate us. So why did I make this number 1? Well, I've seen enough guests complain to the park employees and on online forums that I begin to see, aside from real legitimate complaints, many are essentially the kind of tantrums we threw at our parents when we didn't get our way. And the parks can't spank us, send us to our room, or give us a timeout. Their reactions range from a simple, "I'm sorry," to bending over backwards to maintain business and calling security only in extreme circumstances. But overall, the matter comes down to what we expect from the parks and what the parks expect us to expect. You'll never run up to Mickey Mouse on a grassy knoll and get a big hug, just the two of you, but they want you to believe that. And we feel we've been deceived, lied to. Even when your logical brain dictates that a lot of people want the same experience and that there's to be a line for it, it doesn't matter. Yes, you'll ride Men in Black, but you need to wait in line first. Yes, you can have breakfast with Disney princesses, but you'll need a reservation and a lot of money. Yes, Florida is the Sunshine State, but it's also hot with many rainy days and the occasional hurricane. As long as we listen to our common sense, take our time, and think things through, we can have a wonderful time at the theme parks. I'm Tap G, and I'm fed up.